All right, let's start the second half of the meeting with the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right, so it is my pleasure to introduce Jimmy, who is our main speaker tonight. Let's give him a Fred Brown welcome. Come on up, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Rob, you'll help him adjust. Thank you so much.
All right.
You're just, you got it?
That's it. I may not need it, but I see it. Jimmy Alcoholic. Jimmy. And I've done some other things. I want to thank God for my life and my sobriety. If you be new, I want to beg you to stay and have some sober experiences. God has blessed me to have sober experiences since July 11th, 1988. For that, I'm eternally grateful. I asked my phone last night how many days that was, and it told me it was 13,701 days. And the most important number on those days is 1. Because I had to get 1 day to go in the right direction. And some of you guys in here may be closer to 1 than the 13,000. You know, I want to, the format says that we share in first, let me thank some people. First of all, I thank God for allowing me to be here and for coming over that bridge and with my eyes closed. And I got a vision problem. I can't see good anyway, but I still close them. I want to thank Rob for asking me to come out and telling me and introducing me to the speaker seeker. I said, when I heard that, I said, yeah, I really got to meet her. That sounds so cool. Speaker seeker. That sounds like drug dealer. Yeah, they got the connection, Yeah. And I want to thank my partner Amy for driving out here and just forcing me to trust God and to continue to rely on God, because every time I'd say something to her, she would snap at me, but then I had Rob on speaker, she talked to him normal. And I said, am I annoying you? She says, I'm just annoyed. It's amazing, it tells us to share in a general way what it used to be like, what happened and what it's like today. And they say share in a general way. I don't know how I can generally say that I drank, I got drunk, and I threw up. Can I say that generally? That's kind of specific, because I couldn't hold my liquor. I drank for the effect produced by alcohol. Now, what does the effect produce? The first time I drank for the effect, I went to high school at Blair High School in Pasadena. I'm not going to tell you no years or nothing, because I'm going to tell you a lie eventually. And that lie is going to be that I'm 39 years old. Okay? And that's the lie I'm going to tell you. Now, I told you I'm 37 years sober. So if you do the math, okay? But I want to share with you, I was in high school, man, and I played for Blair High School, and we won CIF. And we were 13-0. But after about the 5th game, we said, after each game, we're going to drink to celebrate. And I don't know about you, man, but I used to always be in my house, and my mom had this long mirror on the back of her bathroom door, and I used to practice doing the James Brown all the time. And I said, I sure want to get out there and do that James Brown. And what I learned early on in this disease of alcoholism and drug addiction is it's good to have a friend with a nickname. because them nicknames can always get you in trouble. And when I'm doing drugs and alcohol, I'm usually looking for trouble. And what happened was, this guy came to the gym, and our dancers were in the gym, and in our gym, the guys would be on one side of the gym, and the girls would be on the other side of the gym. And I don't know what you girls was talking about over there, but what we was talking about over on this side is what we was gonna do to you girls. But that's as far as we ever got, is talking about it, you know? Until one night, a guy named Sonny comes into the gym, and he's got this brown paper bag, and it's twisted at the top. And he says, Jim, come outside, man, I want you to try something. Now, I want you to know, when I walked outside, I was 5'9", about 145 pounds, and I had a Corvadas haircut that was not in style, and my name was Jimmy. And what I did is I sat there with Sonny, and he opened up that can of Old English 800. Now, I'm going to share something with you. That's the nastiest tasting substance that had been in my mouth to that point. Because this disease is progressive, okay? And so what happened, man, is Sonny and I shared a can of Old English, man, and we got up to walk back to the gym, and I got to the gym door, and I stood there, and no longer was I 5'9". I was 6'2". I didn't weigh 145 pounds. I weighed 225 pounds. I didn't have a Corvadas haircut. My hair was laying down on my shoulders. It no longer was my name Jimmy Andrews, but it was now Denzel Washington. And what I did, man, is I walked across that gym floor, man, because my fear was always if I walk across that gym floor and I asked the girl to dance and she told me no, I was going to turn around and all my buddies were going to be over there laughing. And I was going to be embarrassed. But on the way over there, man, that Old English gave me some courage, man. And I walked over there to ask this girl to dance. And on the way over there, I asked her to dance. And I had made up in my mind already. If she said no, I was going to look her right in the eye and tell her I didn't want to dance with your ugly ass anyway. So that Old English did something for me, you know. And what I did is I progressed. I did a lot of different things. I played sports. I was the first four-sport letterman in the history of the school. I played football, basketball, baseball, and I ran track. And we won CIF in football. I went to CIF in track, and I was all CIF in baseball. I went to college on a dual scholarship. My sophomore year, my junior year my sophomore year, I was ranked number 3 in the nation as a defensive back. I had 12 interceptions in 13 games, and I ran 3 back for touchdowns. I don't tell you that to brag. I tell you that because what cocaine was doing, and alcohol. I forget sometimes. What they were doing is lining up things that they wanted to take from me. You could say it. Okay, thank you. Because I might slip, okay? I might say cocaine, you know. I might talk about hitting the pipe. You know, I might talk about hitting the hot end and the cold end, you know. I might talk about sucking the damn Brillo up into my throat and taking it out and then lighting it again. I might talk about those kind of things, but thank you for letting me know that, okay? You know. I was a great athlete. All I wanted to do from the age of 8 was play professional baseball. And that's all my mother wanted me to do, was play professional baseball. I went to the University of Nevada in Las Vegas on a dual scholarship to play football and baseball. And I was an All-American going there. And If you know anything about Vegas, they take care of you if you're an athlete, especially if you're an All-American. And I got there, man, and I was fighting above my weight because they was doing things. I was like, man, y'all need to slow down, you know. But what I learned in Las Vegas, man, is I learned how to gamble with the coach's money. I learned how to drink for free. Because I said I was going to take this out my story a while back, and I said, no, it's my story. I learned that if you play Keno, if you hold a card in one hand and a pencil in the other hand, they will bring you drinks all night for free. And I played all night long. And I ended up, I need to let you know, I ended up my senior year just before we went to go to the Grantland Rice Bowl, because we were 11-0. Before we went to Grantland Rice Bowl, I forgot to tell you, I was an All-American in football and baseball. I was also on the Dean's Honor Roll. I had a 3.85 GPA going to UNLV. But I found myself ineligible just before we was going to the playoffs. And just before we went to the playoffs, man, had this class, man, and I got called into the dean's office, the athletic dean, and he shared with me. He says, Jimmy, you're ineligible. I said, what are you talking about? He says, yeah, you're failing a class. I said, what class? And he told me what class it was. I said, man, something's wrong, Dean. I said, I got A's on all 3 tests in that classroom. He says, yeah, Jimmy, you did. You got A's on 3 tests, but there were 6 tests. I had drank, got drunk, passed out in the Keno section, and missed 3 classes, 3 tests. And I became ineligible. And I want to share with you, man, that hurt. That hurt. So what I did is, with those feelings, I don't know about you, but at that time, I needed to walk out that dean's office because I needed a drink. I needed something to take care of those feelings. I told you I drink essentially for the effect produced, what it does for me. If I'm feeling down, it'll make me feel up. If I'm feeling too high, it'll bring me down, it'll mellow me out. If I'm feeling shy, it's gonna give me courage. So at that time, man, I was just feeling bad. I needed a pick-me-upper. And what I did, man, is I got me a drink. And what I did, man, is I drank myself right out of college. I left college needing 23 credits to graduate at that time. And I went to play in the Puerto Rican Cuban League, baseball, and a scout got me, and they took me, and I started playing for the San Francisco Giants Rookie League. From the age 8 to the age of 22, that's all I wanted to do was play professional baseball. But one day after I had a great game, Big Book describes it like this. Said there was not a cloud on the horizon, which means nothing going on bad. Everything was good. I had just had a great day. And I said to the coach, and then the thought came. It's like in Bill's story, it talks about a guy, not in Bill's story, but in the Big Book, it talks about a guy named Jim. And Jim was sitting at the table and it says, suddenly, the thought came. I said, Coach, can I get a 3-day furlough? I need to go home and take care of some business with my wife. And he says, yeah. He says, I'll give you a 3-day furlough. They cleared it with management and everything. And I need to let you know, man, I walked out of camp and I was probably about an hour and a half from my house. and 10 days later, I made it to my house. My car went on automatic drive to the dope house. And I just wanted to get one. Just one. I wanted to get one dub and one beer. And then I was going to go to my wife's house. And what happened, man, is I took a hit. And what happens when I take a hit, I have an allergy. And that allergy said, I need a hit. And that allergy took me to what we call the phenomenon. Something unexplainable, something unusual happens when I put something into my system. And what happened was the phenomenon of craving activated. And it told me, I want another one. I need more. Now, I need to tell you that there was nothing more important to me in my life, I thought, than to play professional baseball. The big book describes it like this. It says something important was coming up in a day or so. And a day or so prior to that important engagement, we took a drink. And we didn't make that important engagement. Guys, I'm in. I'm playing. I'm in the rookie league. I'm in the rookie camp to play professional baseball, the thing I wanted to do. And my car turned left when I wanted to go right. So that messed off part of my life. And I want to try to keep up with the time here. What time am I stopping?
You got 13 minutes.
I got how many?
13.
13? All right. So what happens, man, is I come back and I start driving buses. I drove for RTD, which is now MTA. Now, I did cocaine all night and drank beer all night and drove buses all day. So if you rode with me, it was not a ride. It was an adventure. I drove a 40-foot bus like it was a Volkswagen. I leaned to the side and I drove with one hand. And I wore these dark blue frame glasses. And I would pull up to a stop, and I had a reputation. I had gotten a reputation. I pull up to a stop, and these people was in line to get in the bus in front of me. And they would see it was me back there. They'd jump out of that line and come back and get into my bus. And I go, why you guys didn't get in that bus? They said, because we know you're going to get to the end of the line first. Well, the reason I'm going to get to the end of the line first, man, because there's going to be some stops I'm going to miss. So, man, I have a bus that had what we call wheelchair accessible. And I pull up to the wheelchair person, and I open my door, and I say, hey, you got to get that next bus, man, because my wheelchair apparatus is not operating. And they said, okay. So, guys, if you ever see me just pushing somebody in a wheelchair, I'm making an amends, okay? So what happens, man, is I get off work because I'm having some chest pains. I go to the hospital, and I'm in the hospital for 6 days. But on day one, they told me that I was having a heart problem. I had an unstable angina. And the doctor asked me, he says, are you doing cocaine? I said, no, man, I'm a bus driver. He said, well, cocaine came back in your blood test. I said, man, I don't know how that happened, man. He said, well, let me tell you something, Mr. Andrews. If you continue to do cocaine, you're going to die. Because what you're doing, you're using your heart as a muscle. and you're doing cocaine to stay up all night, and then you're driving buses all day, which is a stressful job. And that muscle, what it did is the left lower part of my heart muscle collapsed. That's what happened. And he said, you're gonna die. I said, okay. The big book says, after we tell the alcoholic all about Alcoholics Anonymous and what it can do to him, the arrogant ass alcoholic says this in the big book. He says, thanks for the information. That's kind of what I said to the doctor. Because 6 days later, I called my girl to come bring me one. Well, she was my girl when I had the sack. And when you had the sack, partner, she was your girl. And sister, when you had the sack, she was your girl. And I had to do a lot of writing on her in my inventory. Yeah. But what she did is she brought me one. And you would think, I've been in the hospital for 6 days, man. I'm laying in the hospital. You would think she would walk in and say, baby, how they treating you? How you feeling? Is the food good? Are the nurses nice to you or anything? You would think the conversation kind of went like that. Well, the conversation didn't go like that. The conversation went like this. She walked through the door and she says, I'm hitting first. Now, I ain't hitting 6 days, man. The man just told me, if I hit again, I'm going to die. You would think I'm going to say something like, man, I don't care. Go ahead. I said, oh, hell no. I've been waiting 6 days. I'm hitting first. You know? And what happened, man, is I hit first. And then she hit. And then she tripped. She did what she do. She got paranoid. She went into the bathroom. She shut the door. I'm mad in the motherfucker. I get up. I'm hooked up to all this shit. I got this cart. I'm dragging this cart. And I got this fashionable ass gown on with my ass hanging out. I'm holding my ass like that. And I got the cart like this. And I'm walking over to the bathroom door. And I knock on the door. I go, baby, what are you doing? Come on up out of there. She said, hold on. I said, what are you doing? She said, I dropped a piece. Oh, shit. I said, baby, come on up out of there. You ain't even been in there to drop no piece. She came out about 15 minutes later sweating like she was on her way to the penitentiary. Looked me right in the eye and said, I couldn't find it. Now there's a part of my brain that said, this is God telling me you don't need to do this shit no more, Jimmy. But I got a disease that said, go get another one. And I said, I ain't got but $20 more in my pocket. Go look in there, look in there, get my $20. She got that $20. That was in 1987. And I'm still waiting for it to come back. You know, I want to share with you, man, that alcohol and drugs, man, took me to homelessness, man. You know, I started getting loaded in the Hollywood Hills, man, with a guy that was 17 years old with a El Camino truck and a Porsche and a boat. I said, I want what you got. I started doing what he did. And I ended up in Pasadena on Park and Garfield. And I lived in a 2-block radius. Everything I needed was within 2 blocks. They had 3 liquor stores and about 6 dope dealers. And it got so bad, man, that one guy that was living there says, Jimmy, we need to start paying rent. No, we need to start charging for rent. And I said, charging for rent? I said, bro, this is a vacant house. He said, who? I said, who we gonna pay rent to? He said, to me. I said, why would we pay you rent? He said, because I've been here the longest. I said, well, what's that got to do with anything? He says, that's called squatters' rights. I said, oh. So what I know, God is working on me to get sober. And what happens is I go down to a place called Union Station Foundation, which is a homeless shelter with a 12-step program in Pasadena. I go there to eat. If you go there in the morning, man, you get the best oatmeal in the world. And you put a whole lot of sugar in it and a whole lot of butter. And you put some milk in it. And you got a milkshake, oatmeal milkshake, you know. And I did that every day. And in the evening, man, we'd have a meeting. And they bring in sandwiches in the evening. And in the evening, man, I was sitting in the meeting one day. And I was sitting like over in this corner over here, and they were serving the sandwiches over in that corner. And they stood up and we said the serenity prayer, and we was holding hands and said, keep coming back. It works if you work it. And I let them people's hand go, and I trampled over people trying to get to the front of the line. And the guy that was running the joint says, hey. He says, hey, man. He says, looks like you're a little hungry, man. I said, man, I am hungry. He said, man, I want to tell you something. I said, what's that? He said, man, if you keep coming back, not only can you eat, you can stay sober. I heard just what I needed to hear. If you keep coming back, you can keep eating. That's what I heard. And I kept coming back, you guys. I ended up, man, getting sober at that homeless shelter, man, and I want to tell you my journey. I got sober on July the 11th, 1988. I had gone to jail. I had gone to jail for the next to the last time. Because I went one time when I'm sober, but I don't even tell you about that one. But I went to jail, man, and I had to go catch a number, man. You know, I had to walk the yard. I had to catch that chain, man. You know, and I had to come out and I had to share. I had to tell you guys that I did 9 days. In Wayside on a ranch. You know, but I got here, man, and I didn't know nothing about being honest, man. I came in trying to fit in. I came in trying to fit in, man, and I looked at you and I kept judging your outsides to my insides, man. And I said, I need to keep lying. And I kept lying, and my sponsor told me one day, he said, you need to stop lying. I said, about what? He said, about how long you did in jail. I said, I'll leave it at 9. They figure it out. I didn't tell them, you know. And so eventually I started saying 9 and then saying days real low. You know? Yeah. You know, 11 months later, man, I was doing workshops at that facility. And 2 years later, I was working for Behavioral Health Services, Pacifica House in El Segundo as a counselor. I went to school. I went to a school in Sherman Oaks, and then I went to Glendale College. I got certified. I got a couple of certifications because I wanted to help people because I had been helped. I left there and I went and I worked for Cornell Corrections, which is the federal halfway house for reentry program. It's a halfway house. And I was in charge, man, of doing hearings. I'm a drunk and I'm a dope fiend. And I'm in charge of somebody's freedom. I'm just watching God work in my life. And I said, man, how is all this happening? And what happens, man, is there's a guy that comes in there, and I have a brother that passed away. His name is Jerome. And this was one of my brother's friends. And he tested positive. And see, I automatically have to write him up to send him back, you know. And I told him, man, I got to send you back, man. He said, Jay. He said, Lil Jerome. He said, Lil Jerome, That's a false positive, man. That was some poppy seeds, man. I said, okay, man. I said, what I'm gonna do, man, is I'm gonna call it in to them, man. If they tell me it can show a false positive, I'm gonna test you again, man. So if you've been getting loaded, don't get loaded no more. I'm trying to help this brother. And I called the people and they said, no, it ain't gonna give you no false positive. He said he got loaded. I had to send this guy that I knew from the hood. I had to send him back to jail. You know, and I was wondering, is this the line of work I want to be in? And I said, if I wouldn't have sent him back to jail, he might have went out and got loaded and died. I try to look at something positive in it, man. You know, and I went from there working in mental health for Pacific Clinics. I worked for Pacific Clinics, and I went from Pacific Clinics as a counselor. I was the head counselor for Pacific Clinics. And I went to Ridgeview Ranch. It's a high-end treatment facility. When I say high-end, it's high-end. They pay a lot of money. Cash money, okay? And what happens, man, is I went there, man, as a counselor, and 3 months after I was there, they made me the director. I was the director there for 5 years, and then I left there and I was a consultant for about 3 different treatment centers. And I'm telling you that God just directed my life, and then I started a business called A Link in the Chain. And the link in the chain, I wanted to be for somebody who was in a position like I was in. Then I wanted to be that link to link them to the position that I got to. And I came up with the name, The Link in the Chain. And I had that business, and I worked that business, man. And God has been so good to me, man. I work the steps, I sponsor people, I sponsor men, and I sponsor women. In the program, they suggest that you sponsor men if you're a man, and if you're a woman, they suggest you sponsor women. Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the men got sober first. What if they wouldn't have sponsored those women? They would have had no direction. The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous talks about a flying blind period. That's when there's no direction, there's no big book, there's no steps. You know, I sponsor men and I sponsor women. I sponsor one of your staff members here. I ain't gonna tell you because he might be messing up, you know. I don't want y'all to drop a dime on him, you know. No, what I know is I know he do the work. I know he do the work. You know, I know I do. I've been doing a workshop on the weekends for 36 years. I've been sober 37 years. I've been doing a workshop for 36 years, facilitating it. He drives from San Pedro to Altadena on Saturdays. When I drove down here from Pasadena to San Pedro today, and I was on the phone with him, I said, man, I must love you, boy. You know? And I told him, my girl must love me because she's driving. You know, I want to tell you guys that this program works, but I had to give it a chance, man. I had to give it a chance. They could give me everything except willingness. And when I got the willingness to do what they suggested I do, my life got better. I was able to take the mask down and quit acting like I was that person that I wanted you to think I was. I developed a relationship with God, and I want to share this with you before I sit down. There's 2 things. I want to tell you a story about a guy and this girl before they got married. I haven't told this story in a long time. It just came to me again. Before they got married, they didn't have no sex. I know you guys got to reach hard for that one, okay? So on their wedding day, man, they got married, and they went to this hotel, and the big husband picked his wife up, and he carried her across the threshold and set her down on the bed. And he looked down at her, and he took his pants off. She said, put those pants on. He says, honey, I can't wear those pants. And he looked at her with a stern look, and he pointed to her and said, then don't you forget it. And the lady says, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? So she shimmered her little panties off. She threw them into the middle of the room. And she looked up at her big husband. She says, husband, get in those panties. And the big husband said, wife, I can't get in those panties. And she looked at him with a stern voice and said, and don't you forget it. I want to share with you that I didn't know that all I needed was God until all I had was God. God bless you, and thank you for letting me share.